Welcome to Second Listen Saturday on the Parenting Roundabout podcast, where we share some fun moments from a past episode for your weekend listening pleasure. Look for new episodes every Monday through Friday.
We would like to vent about those who reject our kids.
The nerve.
So, backstory. As you know, I've been talking about the whole applying to college phase that we find ourselves in here in the Eridix household. My daughter's a senior, and if you've been following, she applied to universities in the fall, and then we've had this torturous long wait to find out if she's been admitted, and March is kind of admittance month where they start sending out decisions, and there's no rhyme or reason because sometimes they send out the decisions all at once and sometimes universities will send them out in batches. It's such a nightmare for these kids. It's so anxiety provoking. So she's had some successes, some admittances, and then yesterday she got her first rejection. So, and in her defense, I had a look at some of the profiles of the kids that were being accepted at that particular school, not mentioning any names. Thank you very much, Davis. But my daughter was a very solid candidate for that program, according to the stats of the kids who did get in. And so it just, without any kind of, I mean, are we expecting too much in this day and age where we want to know why?
Yeah, because I think sometimes it's just random.
It feels so random.
There could be, 10 kids who all have the same sort of qualifications, and 5 get in and 5 don't, and it's just,
I know,
pretty.
And their kind of their line is that, sort of their go-to line is that, well, every year we look for something different in a student. So we're not looking for the same kind of student every year. So it totally gives them leeway as to what they're looking for, but yet doesn't shed a light for people who are applying to say, okay, maybe that's not going to be a good fit for me this year. Yeah. Right? But they just...
Yeah, that doesn't seem logical, for them to be like, and this year we want people with blue hair who are really into skydiving. Like,
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, the fact is, if there are more qualified students than they can accommodate, there may not be a good reason.
Right.
At some point, somebody just has to close their eyes and point at something. There's. I don't know how they make that decision, but I can see that it may not have a reason that you can explain to an angry parent or a broken-hearted student.
Angry, it would just be, well, it's more on my daughter's behalf because I'm an adult and have my share of rejection over the years. Right. She's, facing her first more adult types rejection experiences right now, and so I'm trying to talk her through that so that she's not angry or resentful or whatnot. But it's hard to say, well, we just don't know why you didn't get in. Yeah. Like, there's no reason you can give her, right? And it's especially when you see your child who's worked so hard and put so many hours, and I understand the pool of students is so huge that she has to compete against. But at least if they could have just sent back like a little checklist, like your grade needs to be higher in economics.
But with that, does it feel better to know exactly why you were rejected, or does it feel better to say, hey, it's just completely random, it has nothing to do with you? I don't know.
Right. And if you got that checklist back, then then you'd be like fixing it and sending it back to them and say, okay.
Or you'd be arguing with them. I mean, if you're the person who answers the phone, you want to just say there's no reason. It's just random. We put them in a mayonnaise jar and we drew 5 out. Because It just seems to lead to more and more. And I don't know, as a life lesson, is there always a reason for stuff? Although, I assume when my kids get rejected, there's a reason, but that's because there is.
Yeah, and when you get rejected from a job, do you want to know why?
Well, I just assume it's because I'm old.
No.
Well, I want to know why, but I know I'm never going to find out.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm happy enough to get an actual response, even if it's no.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, but I am happy just to get a letter these days is nice.
But is that our generation? Are we just used to that? Because I feel like companies are becoming more transparent these days, which is what, maybe we're just accepting it because it's what happened with us.
I don't know. I would say that just as long as there are other possibilities, if there's only one possibility and they reject you for nebulous reasons, then I would put on my mama bear suit and go yell at them. But if there's other opportunities, it's just not.
Oh, yeah.
And I also do think that sometimes there are, what's the word? Well, there are qualities you can't put a finger on that make a person more suitable for one college than another. And the people who are there and work with students every year and see every year who has a happy and successful time and who doesn't may be able to see that on an application in a way that can't necessarily be explained. It's just like, you're not going to be happy here. You're not the kind of student who is going to be happy here. I can tell from the way you've written about yourself and from the activities you've done and the stuff. There are places that will will be better for you.
That's if people are actually looking at them.
Well, that's true.
It's not just a computer
there's a
program.
very sophisticated algorithm that takes care of feels and says.
What they do need to do, though, is do a better job at preparing the kids and being realistic with the kids in high school, because in high school they're told, you take all these classes, you do all this volunteering, you do, all this extracurricular stuff, and you'll get into a great university.
But they don't say you'll get into this specific great university.
They'll repeatedly tell you, you'll get into a UC, you'll get into a UC.
Well, but she's applied for other UCs.
She has.
You'll get into a UC. They shouldn't say you will get into every UC. I'm sorry.
But they would say, yes.
You can have any college, you'll have your pick of colleges, they say.
You'll be in a position to choose from a top tier university.
Yeah, well, they should definitely knock that off.
They do. They need to do that. And then that becomes the expectation. If I just check all these boxes, I'm going to be able to be eligible for these top tier schools.
And then you see your friend with the 22 t-shirts of the school she got into.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And your life takes a dark turn.
Because I think that there's a lot of, preparation that has to go into, and there's a fine line, because you want your kid to be confident, but you also, I feel like, have to prepare them in advance for if this doesn't happen.
Yes.
I'm thinking of that in terms of my kids and like activities or sports, if they want to be on the top team, what if, let's talk about what if it doesn't happen.
Right.
Because I feel like that does help, going into it like, okay, if I get this, that'll be great. If I don't, here are the ways that that's still okay.
Right.
Right.
I still like this aspect of the other team. It'll be less practice time, whatever it is. But you don't want to put it in their head that, let's assume that this is not happening.
It is very hard.
Right.
Yeah, it really
is. It is. And all the talk and all the prep still doesn't take away the actual
still stings.
Emotion.
It certainly
still
does.
stings.
Yeah, well, the best revenge is getting into some place you'd rather get into than that one. If it's her number one heart set on school, then that's going to be a whole nother level of trouble.
Yeah. I think it was her second choice.
Yeah. I was one of those kids who would have agonized over every rejection, whether I wanted to go there or not. So I can relate. But from the other end, I think that there may be. I mean, I wanted to go to Berkeley so badly, and my dad wouldn't let me. That would have been a terrible school for me. I would not have done well there. Santa Barbara, where I wound up going, was perfect. It was the right place for me, and led me in directions I might not have gone otherwise. So sometimes maybe it's just,
you end up where you're meant to be.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But it would be nice if you could turn down a bunch of other places in order to do that.
Well, and that's
sorry,
the other
you
thing.
don't meet my needs at this time.
That's the other thing. She knows somebody that turned down Yale.
Oh,
wow.
So she's like, I just want to, be able to say I turned down a good school.
Oh,
not
dear.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It just is still like, why does she? It's that whole game because in 3 months nobody's going to care.
Yes, that is true.
Nobody's going to care.
I'm so glad I didn't have to deal with any of this. Community college, as long as the check doesn't bounce, come on in.
Right.
That's what I even said to her. I said, you know what? Why don't you just go to community college for 2 years and you could transfer to UCLA, no problem. Yeah. No problem. They love transfer students.
No, but if she's competitive, there's no way.
No.
The community college t-shirt does not make for a good college reveal.
Which is too bad.
Yes, it is. That's one of the things that has been somewhat positive in my parenting journey is being able to let go all of that. I would have been the most competitive mom and a pain in everybody's rear end. So, and as it happened, it's just like, you know what, we're going off into a different direction. And it was very pleasant.
Yeah.
So, good for all of us.
Yeah.